I have to re-add that intro and add your name in. It's an old intro from first season. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the third episode of season 3 of the Dune Over. I cannot believe we are 2 years into this. It's so weird because Jen and I basically started this as I don't think anybody's ever going to watch this show. This is for us.
That's how all YouTube things start, right?
Yeah, well, Messiah, our first episode, just crossed 600 views.
Oh, wow. Man.
And that to me is just jarring. And I'm sure it's just people's YouTube searches all of a sudden, like looking up Dune, you know, auto going to it, and people going, I don't know, man, turning it, but still.
Does that count as a view, the 10 seconds it plays?
If they're in there for so many. I also found out if you curse within the first minute of a live stream, they will automatically demonetize you.
Oh, the first minute. Okay, so you just got to wait.
Yeah, like.
Okay, start the curse clock. Countdown started.
I'm not monetized, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. Think of the future. Think of the future.
It's all about the future because you think about the future and you mold the present.
Exactly.
Learn that.
That's what we've learned from this.
Big week coming up, at least for me, physical media wise. Halloween Kills comes out in 4K. I have that pre-ordered for the Steelbook from Best Buy, as well as Dune, the new version, which, according to Denis Villeneuve, will have no extra scenes because everything he shot is in the movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The director's cut is what is on what we saw. I'm hoping it has good behind the scenes making of. I was thinking about doing either a live audio commentary or seeing if I can get everybody to do a live tweet along commentary, which might be easier to do. And you'd start getting random people in.
Oh man. Yeah, I can tweet it up.
Yeah, like I think a tweet along one night would probably be easier and just have like a hashtag.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, Dune Over watch along.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
So we are in the third quarter of this book.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot going on.
Yes.
A lot of theology.
Within plans.
Oh, Faradin. Wheels within wheels.
Yeah, wheels within wheels.
I really feel like we were talking before we came live that it feels like Frank's trying to work something out. And I started trying to look at like what was going on in the world at that time that he started like going on about theology.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I can't really think of anything that really ties along other than, you know, maybe he was pissed at the Pope at the time. I don't know. Like,
is he Catholic or was he Catholic? Do we know? Or?
I don't know. If we ever get to a panel with his son there, we can ask all our weird questions. Yeah, well. Hey, in their memories, did they remember boning their dad?
Right. Yeah. Two questions. What happens to the jizz? And
also,
was your dad Catholic?
My other question is, what's your dad's deal with furniture? I gotta know.
Oh man. Oh, I got a couple of things bookmarked about interior decorating and Home Depot excursions that might, bring out these kind of things.
Let's not talk about my workplace.
Oh, sorry. Okay. No shade. Just to be clear, just that's where you got to go to get your tile.
My viewpoints are mine and not related to my work life.
Mine aren't even mine. They were just handed to me before I got on here. So
yeah, some of the beginnings of these chapters are also like maddening.
Oh yeah, there's some powerful opening, like I don't know what we want to call them, quotes.
Jen just messaged she is still at work. So
hope she brings chicken nuggets.
We may not have her tonight. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So forewarning for everyone. So our first chapter starts with Faradin. Ooh, I forgot this was an Irulan beginning of this chapter.
Oh, yeah. Well. Don't forget that. That's your girl.
Yes. In all major socializing forces, you will find an underlying movement to gain and maintain power through the use of words. From witch doctor to priest to bureaucrat, it is all the same. A governed populace must be conditioned to accept power words as actual things. which relatable today. Like,
oh yeah,
there's definitely, or we'd call them trending words.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and there's a lot of, like, with the religion piece, I think there's a lot of this in here. There's a lot of commenting on good government and the role of government, the role of power and subjugation and all those things.
At this point, it would have been Nixon in office.
Oh, well, no, it would have been, this came out in 76. Yeah, this was
okay, it was originally, 76, so this is Jimmy Carter?
This is Ford. It'd be Ford it took into Carter, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so God Emperor's Jimmy Carter, I guess.
Sure, yeah. Peanut farmer. Because this was the last one I was reading a little bit before. This was the last one to be serialized in analog.
Yes.
And so I think then subsequently they were just produced as books. I don't believe they were serialized from there on out. But check me on that, people in the comments. Nicely.
Yep, 1976, the Berkeley edition came out in 81.
Mm-hmm.
I also like that it's copyrighted to Herbert Properties LLC.
Yeah, all these weird legal things as like a creator you have to do. Like, here's my LLC for my weird drug sci-fi story.
So Jessica and Idaho are talking with Faradin. Faradin is a very intelligent, smarmy child.
Yes. What do we think? Is he like 18? Is he like 16? Do we have a sense of?
I felt at least 11 to 12.
Oh, okay.
Because they didn't deem it wildly inappropriate that he'd be being betrothed to a 9-year-old.
Yeah, well, see, to me, like, it could still be wildly inappropriate. They don't give a crap.
That could be.
But yeah, you're probably right, though.
They never say how old he is, but I believe Jessica at some point comments that this child is like aged beyond his years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and they talk about how he basically studied the Atreides to learn why their people were so loyal. But him and Jessica, and we'll call him Tayek, whatever his name is.
Tayek or Tayek, yeah.
Yeah, Tayek. Well, just call him Ty or Tayek.
Yeah, Tayek.
So Jessica's basically saying, hey, like, I'll stay here. I'll teach you.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked him just point blank, did you kill my grandson? And
right.
He's like, I didn't. I learned of the plot.
Right.
And looking at his mom like, all right, like. And
a lot of mom stuff. A lot of, like, that's another thing. There's like, usually we're used to like dad stuff in books by men.
Mommy issues.
But like, I don't know if we're as used to mommy things. And that's another thing I'm wondering about. Like, how is your dad's relationship with your grandmother, Brian? That's another question we'll add to the list.
Basically, they're like, hey, a message came from Wallach 9. The Bene Gesserit Council files formal protest against the Krynos on the assassination of Leto.
Yeah.
So they're getting involved. There's going to be a neutral ground and shit's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just Wensica's like, I don't know. Since my son hasn't yet formally invested as head of House Carino, I will. Where are you going? This last was addressed to Faradin, and he's like, I'm going back to my books. Other pursuits,
right? Yeah, I love that.
Much more interest.
That's one of my favorite things about Faradin. He's just like, I'm not interested in that. I just want to go read. So I very much relate to him at that age doing that.
These are things I'm like. So Jessica's like, I'll tell you what. You banish your mother.
Mm-hmm.
I'll teach you.
Mm-hmm.
This gets you off the hook. And she's basically like, you might have played into my daughter's hands already. You don't know. And he's like, well, they might try to marry me to Alia.
Yeah.
And I
think that's what was maybe unsure about his age, is maybe like, because he feels that card first.
And then you expect me to believe that you and your daughter oppose each other, that Atreides fight Atreides. And Jessica looked at Wensica and back to Faradin, and she goes, Carino fights Carino. And he smiles. He's like, all right, well taken. How would I have played into your daughter's hands? By becoming implicated in my grandson's death by abducting me. Abduct? What?
Hello? No.
Yeah. And like Wensica's like, don't trust the witch. He's like, I'll trust who I want. Like, I do what I want. But he's very matter-of-factly with like just bitching his mom out constantly, like talking down to her.
Just a real brat. Yeah, totally. Just to set the mood, they do describe the tile on the floor here. The floor beneath her was alternate blocks of diamond and wood kabuzu shell arranged within rectangular borders of Passequat bones. These had been set on end, laser cut, and polished. Selected hard materials decorated the walls in stress-woven patterns, which outline the 4 positions of the lion symbol claimed by the descendants of Shaddam IV. So again, a significant number of sentences devoted to the tiling and interior decorating of the accommodations.
I just messaged Jen. I was like, "Don't worry, we're talking flooring at the moment."
Yes.
They talk about roofing a lot too, like the what's on the ceilings of the rooms too, where I was just like, that sounds horribly ugly.
Yeah, totally.
There was one that had like a crystal ceiling, and I was like, what the fuck?
It's just tacky left and right. It's kind of like that episode of That 70s Show where the one character's like, do our parents have bad taste? He like looks around at like all the furniture and like his pinky ring and everything else.
Well, also like, I guess the 70s, I remember burnt sienna and orange like being used a lot, and burnt sienna, like why that became a choice. And I hate that my parents had burnt sienna.
It's earthy.
And then what I used to call guinea gold.
Oh.
All of my Italian relatives had like gold curtains and gold colored furniture, and like
you're in the community, so it's okay. You can say that.
It was so like New York Italian, and I couldn't stand it. It was so fucking hideous. On top of that, they had plastic on the sofas.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Well, when you sit on, so every time you got to like, it was even somewhat warm. There was no central air back then.
Oh yeah, it was sweating onto the like. You're attached now. You're just like...
I'm not decrying Italians, by the way, just in case anybody would think I am very Sicilian Italian. It's just there is a thing with New York Italians where the more gaudy, the more they just dig into it, and oof. Also, we had this hanging, I don't even know what to call it, but it was Jesus on a cross, but with this oil dripping down from these little wires. Like, it was so weird.
Whoa. She probably would.
My life in Ireland, I think that would be, I think that she'd be repulsed by that. I feel like Irulan would be like super bougie. I mean, even for the funeral, they're like, this bitch or gold hair.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she does do it up. I mean, yeah, it's true.
Listen, like if you're gonna blog like she does, like you have to like be ready to go, because her version of Mr. Big, if we're doing Sex in the City like analogs here.
Oh, is she Carrie? Is she a Carrie? Is she totally a Carrie?
She could be, because like she's chasing the guy she can't have, and I'm sure like other men in the universe would be like throwing themselves at her.
Right, yeah. Yeah, oh sure, yeah. I mean,
and like they're like, man, this bitch just keeps writing books about this dude who wouldn't bang her.
And just like that,
he married her
twins. With Chani.
Boy, does that come up later.
Oh, it does. Yes, I love that part. But yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. So Duncan, as they're talking about his wife, cuts his wrists open.
Yeah, that is like, wow, that part.
And I love that like Faradin's just like those soulless Gola eyes. I don't know what's going on behind them. Like,
yeah, and we'll hear about his goal eyes again later too. That's another thing we'll hear.
Yeah, because like he really goes into like his whole was it Sansuni?
Yeah, the Zensuni
stuff and his Mentat stuff, and Faradin gets a little pissed off.
Yeah, well, it's also freaky. You're like, this guy's just gonna like cut his wrists open just to get out of here, like.
Faradin's like, does she read minds? Like, man, what's going on with her? Like, he's completely fascinated with Jessica. Like, just he doesn't understand what's going on. For his logic, he's like, it's kind of breaking him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, sure, like many of us, he instantly has a crush on Jessica. You know, like I'll just be real with my views of Jessica. Instantly, I'm like, oh, goodness.
And honestly, like, I keep thinking the movie Rebecca Ferguson was perfect.
Oh, yeah, I think she's yeah. The more I think about it, the more she nailed it. I think she had to take some liberties, maybe like from the book, maybe what's like on the page versus where she took it, and like it works in the movie. You know,
also the costuming worked real well for me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Jessica also notices that the Faradin's using hand signals, just like the Atreides battle language.
Yeah, this is just a common thing among these families.
They mentioned he studied the Atreides, wondering why
that's right.
They were so loyal, why they got so much loyalty from them. And Jessica's like, of course, you'll want me to teach you the Bene Gesserit, how the Bene Gesserit. And he's like, well, that's the one offer I can't resist.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I want.
So
jackpot.
Our next chapter is Leto looking for the Jackarutu. And he is talking about how he basically hypnotized Ghanima to think that he's dead, and the only word that will break her out of it is the I forget what language they said, but it's a language that Secure Nibu, which it means golden path, but it's only can be uttered in the ancient language they both know.
Yeah, Pig Latin. Olden Gay Athpay.
And they talk about how like unconsciously he can basically do the desert walk.
Yes.
Walking without rhythm. Like he doesn't think about it. It's just second nature to him. He used the worm to swallow up the body and clean up any signs of him. He ends up riding a worm. A little one comes, but strong enough.
Yeah, like a little pony worm. That's what I'm picturing. There's a great part in here too, where like as he's writing, I think it's like he talks about how each wind has a name. Like there's different kinds of wind, which sort of gets it like these ideas, like and people say, and I don't know how correct it is when you say that Inuits have all these names for snow, and maybe that's just white people making something up, or maybe it's true. I'm not totally sure, but that idea of like something so important to your surroundings that you would identify versions of it, just kind of again, it's just like building this world of Dune. Just another cool touch from Herbert there, I think.
They work. He starts talking about the Jackarutu. There was an olden time certain tribes which were known to be water hunters. They were called Iduali, which meant water insects, because these people wouldn't hesitate to steal the water from another Fremen if they caught you alone in the desert.
Yeah.
There was this place they lived, Sietch Jackarutu. That's where the other tribes banded and wiped out the Iduali. That was a long time ago, before Kynes even. In my great-great-grandfather's days, and from that day to this, no Fremen has gone to Jackarutu. It is taboo.
Yeah, don't go there.
And then he starts going into a lot of philosophy. The life of the prophet locks us into his vision, and a prophet could only break out of the vision by creating his death at variance with that vision. This was how it appeared to Leto's double vision as he pondered as it related to the choice he had made. Poor Baptist John. If he'd only had the courage to die some other way, but perhaps his choice had been the bravest one. How do I know what alternatives faced him? I know what alternatives faced my father, though. And he sighed. To turn his back on his father was like betraying a god. But the Atreides Empire needed shaking up. It had fallen into the worst of Paul's visions, and were locked in my father's vision. The alternative Muad'Dib, though, or never understand its own myth. Security, peace, prosperity. Given the choice, there was little doubt what most citizens of the Empire would pick. Though they hate me, he thought, though Ghani hate me, his right hand itched, and he thought of the terrible glove in his vision's vision. It will be, he thought. Yes, it will be. Arrakis, give me strength.
Yeah, just the pain of that. And he and Ghani both, I think, or Ghanima, because I believe she says she doesn't like Ghani.
Yes.
Like getting called that.
Someone keeps using it, though.
It's later on. Yeah, I think I feel like it's Irulan does it. But yeah, just the weight of that, because they both have all of his visions in their mind because of their pre-born, their ability to have all of their ancestry in their head, and that includes all of Paul's visions, which just is also just gives more sort of weight to like what these little kids are dealing with, day in and day out.
More foreshadowing to end this. A terrible glove will restore the balance, Leto thought.
Yeah, that's good foreshadowing. I'm glad, like, again, on the reread, like that, I was like, oh, good job, Frank.
In 1976, you'd be like, what does that even mean? My skin is not my own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I wondered about too, like, this being serialized. I think about that sometimes, like, this, and then a month later you get the story again, kind of like breaking it up like we are. You kind of get that feeling of like what the serialization would be like to experience the story. But, is someone going to like remember that? Are they going to go back to like 3 issues back in analog and like, oh, they like, I'm just, because I do that with comics or like whatever. You're like, oh, that's back here, that they did that thing. I just that foreshadowing, people eat that up.
Yeah, and again, like this book series wasn't super successful. Like this was the most successful of the books.
Mm-hmm.
So like you had to think like you just had to be a diehard, and so I always compared being a Dune fan to liking Rush. If you like Rush, you really like it, but there's people who listen to it going, I don't get it. Why do you like this? And you're like, no, listen to Neil Peart on drums, like, and then I can nerd out about Rush, and I'm not going to do that right now. But
the Priest of Syrinx, is that what it is? Yeah,
yeah. Let's listen to 5150.
Yeah.
So on the next chapter, we are back to Faradin, and he's watching Duncan Idaho waiting outside of Jessica's room.
Just really being a creeper.
And he's really just like keeps going, why did Idaho try to kill himself? What was that really what he tried? He must have known we wouldn't permit it. Idaho is a dangerous question mark. I don't like it.
Yeah, well, like a Gola Mentat that realized his previous life before his pre-Gola existence. It's pretty unprecedented. So that guy's probably gonna have some issues.
Careful studies of the Atreides revealed a superb talent in choosing servants. They'd known how to maintain loyalty, how to keep a fine edge on the ardor of their warriors. Idaho is not acting in character. Why? And he starts like squinting, looking at the screen.
You're like, what's going on with him? Is it his machine eyes?
Yeah. So finally, Idaho gets.
Yeah, a lot of this chapter is spared in worrying about all of this, right?
Yeah. Once more, he's looking at report spools. The water of conception, the amniotic fluid of the newborn was saved at birth, distilled in the first water fed to that child.
That was a weird.
Yeah, that was. Faradin found himself revolted by the idea.
The water of thy conception. Like, whoo. Wild. But another, like, again, peering into the Fremen culture, you're like, if water is that important, that makes sense. And it just gives you this, just a little bit more of their culture, who they are, what their planet and water mean to them.
Faradin has a moment of regretting the death of Leto II. It would have been interesting just to discuss this point with him. Perhaps an opportunity would come to discuss it with Ghanima. And he keeps going back to, why did Idaho cut his wrists?
Yeah, he's just like, what the hell? The guy's unhinged.
Finally, they show Duncan being led into Jessica's room, and he remarks how calm and contained the mentat appeared and how fathomless were his Gola eyes.
Yes, the Gola eye. Does every now I'm just thinking about this. Like there can be rhythms to these things. Like how many of these chapters where Duncan is kind of at the center does it end with his eyes in the last sentence? Some comment of his eyes.
Mentioned like quite a lot. It's
a lot.
It kind of takes the same rhythm of the Stilgar chapter where he's pissed off at Leto talking about all the pretty girls and boys.
yeah, pretty girls and boys.
And he's like, why the fuck am I infected with this whole thought? Like,
yeah, this kid is horny.
Which now that you think about it, though, it kind of reminds me back of Paul in the first book where he's like, I'm infected with this terrible purpose.
Yeah.
Where... And I feel like he's using it of like words can infect you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's I mean, I think he has. Well, I'm sure I'm missing something, but I mean, in a way, he's sort of alluding to that in a lot of the what prescripts, I guess, would you call them in the chapters when he talks about power and talks about like
yes,
and his whole view of religion. I mean, going all the way back to the first book, the Bene Gesserit seeded religion on Arrakis to pave the way for Paul, right? And so like he definitely, like Herbert definitely has this idea that like you just can put an idea out there and use that as a weapon or use that as some kind of like precursor to your ends, and it will be effective if you do it right.
So the next chapter, we're joined on the day of the Kwisatz Haderach.
Yeah,
it is.
Which I want to figure out what day that is, and we should like have a party or something.
So that'll be another question for Brian Herbert.
Yeah, when is a seal? Aiel. That's what it is.
So here's my scroll of questions. So
I have one question, but it's in 8 parts. So it's in 3 disc strands that I have to read.
I wonder if he has Twitter. I know Kevin J. Anderson does. So like maybe
is Brian Herbert on? That's a good question. Yeah, we'll find it.
The first holy day of those who follow Muad'Dib. It's recognized the deified Paul Atreides as that person who was everywhere simultaneously, the male Bene Gesserit who mingled both female and male ancestry in an inseparable power to become the one with all. So everybody's dressed in mourning, MOURNING robes.
Yeah, it's the color of the sun.
Yes. And boy, oh boy, the preacher shows up.
Of course he does.
And
is it Paul, do you think?
I have come to give homage and to preach the memory of Leto Atreides II. I do it in compassion for all who suffer. I say to you what the dead Leto has learned, that tomorrow has not yet happened and may never happen. This moment here is the only observable time and place for us in our universe. I tell you to savor in this moment and understand what it teaches. I tell you to learn that a government's growth and its death are apparent in the growth and death of its citizens.
Yes.
That's political true. As fuck.
That's real. I mean, that's just real.
People in the crowd are like, is he mocking? Priest guards wouldn't arrest him. And Alia is just like, God, is this Paul? Like, the years might have changed him thus, and he's always been superb with the voice. And she said at one point, the preacher's using the voice.
Right, yeah, that was a little like nice detail of like, oh, he's kind of using these skills a little bit, which like I like that too, because it I don't know if we've seen up to this point the voice used sort of in a more subtle way like that, like we've seen it used to like disarm Sardaukar and stuff like that, but like in a more like
forceful,
nuanced, like as a weapon. But in this, it's more like just like subtly. I'm charismatic anyway, but I also have this like magic power where I'm more charismatic because I have the voice, right?
Irony often masks the inability to think beyond one's assumptions. I am not being ironic. Ghanima has said to you that the blood of her brother cannot be washed off. I concur. It will be said that Leto has gone where his father went, has done what his father did. Muad'Dib's church says he chose in behalf of his own humanity a course which might appear absurd and foolhardy, but which history will validate. The history is being rewritten even now. I say to you that there is another lesson to be learned from these lives and their endings. And Alia is alert to every nuance, ask herself why the preacher said endings instead of deaths.
Mm-hmm.
And a truthsayer had confirmed Ganema's story. What was the preacher doing then? Was he making a statement of myth or reality? Mm-hmm. Note this other lesson well, the preacher thundered, lifting his arms. If you would possess your humanity, let go of the universe. But I realize that humans cannot bear very much reality, he said. Most lives are a flight from selfhood. Most prefer the truths of the stable. You stick your heads into the stanchions and munch contentedly until you die. Often others use you for their purposes. Not once do you live outside the stable to lift your head and be your own creature. Muad'Dib came to tell you about that. Without understanding his message, you cannot revere him. Sorry. You don't live the life of Muad'Dib. How dare you tell others how they must revere him? Someone was yelling. And then he bellows, because he's dead. And I want Charlton Heston.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like Soylent Green or Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, totally.
You blew it up.
Moses would be perfect. It's almost what Paul is, right? Yeah. But comes from somewhere else, becomes
We'll get meth head Alec Guinness. Basically, where he's like the old drunk in Star Wars. Are you old? Oh, you're old Ben.
Yeah. Do you think they mean old Ben Kenobi?
I've been known by other names.
Yeah. Stinky.
Chugs.
Yeah, Chugs.
A long time ago.
Weird braid. High ground haver.
So he screams that he's dead. If you believe him truly dead, then you are alone from this time forward. And it's like, surely it was a priest who said that. Come on. I come only to ask a simple question. Is Muad'Dib's death to be followed by the moral suicide of all men? Is that the inevitable aftermath of a Messiah?
Yeah. Wow. That's a pretty, that's heavy.
Yeah. And then someone screams, then you admit him Messiah. And he goes, why not? Since I'm the prophet of his times. I feel like Paul's like, man, I'm doing community theater here. I am Paul. I am Muad'Dib, but I'm against Muad'Dib.
Yeah, you gotta think he's a little drunk on his own. He's high on his own supply, right? I mean, a little bit.
And then Alia Concentrium detected the subtle inflections of voice, saying he's controlling the crowd.
Yep.
And he's screaming, I articulate the myth and the dream. I am the physician who delivers the child and announces that the child is born. Yet I come to you at a time of death. Does that not disturb you? It should shake your souls.
Yeah.
I mean to disturb you. It is my intention. I come here to combat the fraud and illusion of your conventional institutionalized religion. As with all such religions, your institution moves towards cowardice. Mm-hmm. It moves toward mediocrity, inertia, and self-satisfaction.
Yes.
It's Frank Herbert's working something out here.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think even regardless of his actual, religious beliefs, I think any American who witnesses the way a religion works here is probably going to have similar opinions or opinions adjacent to this, or could anyway. It's made me think too, because I'm not like an expert on the Bible, but John the Revelator is also what Paul is kind of fulfilling here, right? He's saying here comes the end, basically, because John of Patmos from Revelation, Book of Revelations. Speaking of,
we already had Saint John the Baptist.
Yeah, we've had John the Baptist referred to. I know, which that's what made me think of it. Is you kind of invoked John the Baptist. Now I think John the Revelator is maybe something you could invoke with Paul / the preacher here, and his big to do.
Paul aimed his empty sockets at Alia, spoke intimately, but with a voice which carried across the throng. Muad'Dib showed you two things, a certain future and an uncertain future. With full awareness, he confronted the ultimate uncertainty of the larger universe. He stepped off blindly from his position on this world. He showed us that men must do this always, choosing the uncertain instead of the certain. His voice, Alia noted, took on a pleading tone at the end of this statement. She slipped a hand onto the hilt of her Chris knife. If I killed him right now, what would they do? Again.
Damn.
He felt a thrill rush through her. If I killed him and revealed myself, denouncing the preacher as imposter and heretic. Also, I find it weird they call her the womb of heaven.
Yeah. I
like saying Alia of the knife way better.
Yeah, Alia of the knife is way cooler. And like, well, I mean, is womb of heaven, was that like a derisive thing? Or is that just like, I don't know. It isn't odd to go from that, because it's like, well, who's like, what is her womb? When does her womb played into anything so far?
Well, I know she's a religious figure, so maybe they're like, someone's got to knock her up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's
got to be heavenly. And then, why has another Leto been taken from us? The preacher demanded. Yeah. There was real pain in his voice. Answer me if you can. Their message is clear. Abandon certainty. He repeated in a rolling stentorian shout. Abandon certainty. That's life's deepest command. That's what life is all about. We probe into the unknown, into the uncertain. Why can't you hear Muad'Dib? If certainty is knowing absolutely an absolute future, then there's only death disguised. Such a future becomes now. He showed you this.
Yeah, and he goes on and on.
Yes, and the preacher reached out, grabbed Alia's arm. It was done without any groping or hesitation. She tried to pull away, but he held her in a painful grip. Right. And he started demanding, what did Paul Atreides tell you, woman? And she goes, how does he know I'm a woman?
Yeah.
He told you that completion equals death. Absolute prediction is completion, is death.
Yeah. Here you go. This is your, and that's your real, like, okay, obviously this is not just your average blind Fremen, which I shouldn't even be seeing anyway.
Yeah. I give you Muad'Dib's words, he said. I'm going to rub your faces in things you try to avoid. I don't find it strange that all you want to believe is only that which comforts you. How else do humans invent the traps which betray us into mediocrity? How else do we define cowardice? That's what Muad'Dib told you.
This is also, since it is Paul, and since Timothée Chalamet played Paul, this is like Timothée Chalamet in Lady Bird reading Howard Zinn's History of the United States, People's History of the United States.
I feel like
being kind of the worst,
I feel like this is him doing Shakespeare.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. This is,
he should be holding a skull.
Yeah, totally. He's really you just give him the Oscar now.
To exist is to stand out away from the background. You aren't thinking or really existing unless you're willing to risk even your own sanity in the judgment of your existence. Like, woof. And then he says, just low enough in her ears, stop trying to pull me once more into the background, sister. Yes. And she just kind of like was like, what?
Huh?
And she's then going, what will I do? What am I going to do? She didn't even have Duncan to lean upon. Everyone has turned against me. What can I do?
Yeah.
The next chapter is Jessica and Duncan in the room. And Duncan goes full mentat, and Jessica's not sure what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah.
Basically, he has to be released from his service.
Yeah, he's like, I'm done with this.
And only Jessica can do that because he's going to do something that might shame the house. He's not an enemy of them, but he's going to be staying with, I guess, enemies.
Right. Was going to go back to Alia and deal with that situation.
History holds its own court and delivers its own judgments. I doubt that I'll be concerned when my judgment's handed down. Like, interesting little line there. And then she's like wondering if he knows the plot with her and Ghanima.
Right. Yeah, some of the I'll be honest with this, getting into this section, I'll get a little confused sometimes with the plans within plans. Who knows what.
This chapter in particular was very like, does he know what I know that I think he might know that there's a lot of that.
That I know, but that Alia doesn't know I know, but thinks I might know.
They're also using a lot of doublespeak because everything's being recorded and spied on.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, they're using the coded talk. I had a note about that.
It's extra confusing. And she's getting pissed off. She's like, how dare he patronize me unless he's performing?
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying, like, I can't see Fremen and Sardaukar sharing a planet because, of course, if Farad'n has to go to Arrakis, the Sardaukar are going too. And like, that's not going to work out.
Mm-mm. No, that will not go over well at all.
And it's basically she's trying to read him with her Bene Gesserit stuff. He's going full Mentat with the words he's using. And she's like, where is he fishing? Like, I don't know where he's going with this.
Yeah. Studied him looking for betrayals and minutia.
He discusses the Fremen curse upon them.
Yeah.
Where was it?
You're looking for the curse part?
Yeah, it was.
Yes. So there's like, yes, among the Al-Uruba, at the preacher's bidding, I join them, my lady. We call ourselves the Zar Sadis. Those who refuse to submit to the priests, I am here to make the formal announcement to an Atreides that I remove myself to enemy territory.
Oh, the curse.
Yeah, the curse is right above that.
Burning be on you, Atreides. You shall have no souls, nor spirits, nor bodies, nor shades, nor magic, nor bones, nor hair, nor utterance, nor words. You shall have no grave, nor house, nor hole, nor tomb. You shall have no garden, nor tree, nor bush. You shall have no water, nor bread, nor light, nor fire. You shall have no children, nor family, nor heirs, nor tribe. You shall have no head, nor arms, nor legs, nor gate, nor seed. You shall have no seat on any planet. Your soul shall not be permitted to come up from the depths, and they shall never be among those permitted to live upon the earth. Oh no, day shall you behold Shai-Hulud, but you shall be bound and fettered in the nethermost abomination, and your soul shall never enter into the glorious light forever and ever.
Yeah.
I liked it better in the TV movie where they're like, cursed be the name Atreides.
not like a million Nors and
yeah, I think they were just like, nah, we're not doing that. Like,
yeah, like that's not gonna. This doesn't work cinematically. It does work great in a book where you're like, you just see a wall of text. And you're like, damn, they're serious. You can't have anything.
We gave him the Jamis speech.
Yeah, which I do love. I love that.
Oh God, I can't. I don't want to see that in the movie. I mean, Timothy Chalamet will probably do it better than the TV movie, because the TV movie, oh boy, that was community theater.
Like, I think Chalamet can act.
Season 1, I reenacted it from the TV movie, and Jen almost fell out of her chair. Like, I went full Shatner.
Yes.
Like slamming the table, and then
yeah, love it. And then, I mean, yeah, from there, like, there's more kind of back and forth.
Yes, there is. It's more of the kind of game of words, I guess you could call it, of like each trying.
Jessica's still trying to study him and like read him, like, what's going on with you. Definitely some words in here I had to look up. He uses foreign words a lot. One in particular will come up later. It's pretty important, but he's stretching his vocabulary. Herbert is.
Oh, the effect of the fa frelouche.
Yeah, that specifically. Yeah,
what
that's
the
one.
Fuck it, like, to be a pillar of our strength, and like it's fucking maddening. Yeah, there are words where I like stop. I'm going. Yeah, you know, I feel like I have a good vocabulary. I have no idea what the fuck that is.
Yeah. What's another? It's like he's bringing in other languages, you know.
Also, there's the Sisterhood's maxim: in human affairs, nothing remains enduring. All human affairs revolve in a helix, moving around and out. If Idaho had really left the Atreides fold. That would explain his present behavior. He was moving around and out. She had to consider that this a possibility, but why had he emphasized that he did the preacher's bidding?
Right.
Because he's fucking Paul.
That's why.
Yeah. He basically tells Jessica, "You're not going to slay me. Don't throw your blood upon my knife," which is a Fremen warning.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great little.
And he's like, "I think I've become a Fremen." And she's like, "I think you better leave." He's like, "Not until you accept my withdrawal." She's like, "Accepted." He's like, "Peace."
Yeah, I'm out. Later, take this job and shove it.
And then she's like, "Agola considers himself a mere mortal," and he's like, "Compared to you?" And she goes, "Get out."
Oh yeah, yeah, that was rude. That was rude. Yeah.
And he's like, "Such is my intention." He slipped out the door, and they're like, "It's done." He thought, and they can read it in only one way.
So is this since we were talking about like Curb Your Enthusiasm or Seinfeld versions of this? Is this like
Kramer.
when George just or is this when George was trying to like figure out the way to like give a zinger and then leave? It's like, well, the jerk store called, they're out of you, and then he like that's what he's like.
I got the last word.
Yeah, exactly. So he's George. He walks out. It's like, this is gonna be the summer of George.
It's like when he quit the Kruger. Oh no, that was his father. Kruger, your company sucks.
Yes.
It's Festivus and Dune.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, feats of strength. Duncan's gonna kill on that.
So Leto is still hunting for Jackarutu. He sees a wind trap, so he knows that there is a Sietch around. And he remarks that the stones kind of look like a worm. And then he starts thinking of one of Gurney's tunes.
Yeah, love it.
Like
very that's like some really not subtle foreshadowing, but it's fine.
Yeah. So he's kind of Call of Duty crawling through the dark.
This is why it would take me like extra time to play Skyrim, because you're just like, where am I crawling? I'm just wandering. Oh no, there's a crab, I gotta kill it. And it's one of those situations.
And he starts talking. He's like, and no birds or animals could be seen here. That is a warning. No humans, yet here the Golden Path began. And you'll start hearing about the Golden Path a lot.
That's going to be very important. Yeah, for the last, that's the runway we've laid out here. Leto
saw only a gypsum plain, which told him open water had existed once here on Arrakis. He gets out his Luke Skywalker binoculars from his friend kit, looking for sand people.
Totally.
Oh God, sand people. They usually travel.
Yeah.
He's scanning around. There is something here I've not heard them announce before. What was the trap vine?
Oh yeah, there's like where's no, I know what you're talking about. I think there's just like like plants that are used for traps, I guess.
It kind of almost sounded like if you're in quicksand, the more you struggle, the faster you'll fall down it.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, exactly. Kind of how I read it.
Weird how, like, as a kid, like every show had quicksand in it. I was terrified of quicksand.
Yeah, and everyone thought quicksand was going to be way more serious of a thing. I had a coworker that was like, "I'm like legitimately afraid of quicksand. Like I like have nightmares about it." Like, man, that sucks.
He crept towards into the deepest shadows of the cliff's base, felt along the rock with a hand, sliding his body behind it. He slipped the sand snorkel from his kit and probed the darkness. As he moved, something tight and binding dropped over his shoulder and arms, immobilizing him. Trap vine.
Yeah.
And as he's trying to get his knife out, a flaring light enveloped him, arresting all movement. And he hears, fine catch in our net.
Yeah. Got him.
Leto's like, I know this voice. Like, I don't know who, and it says, "Do not struggle, Leto Atreides. I have your water in my cup," which I kind of love that.
That's cool, yeah. I do love all the with the Fremen symbolism of water. Those analogies usually work out really great in this, just linguistically.
Of course, when one baits a trap, it is for purpose. One aims for a specific quarry. Not so. Leto remained silent, yet his thoughts whirled. "You feel betrayed," the heavy voice said. And "I long ago ceased to wonder at the number of people who want the Atreides twins dead," Leto said. "Their reasons are obvious." As he spoke, his mind flung. Who had known a beta trap, but who had known except Ghanima? Impossible. Ghanima wouldn't betray her own brother. Then did someone know him well enough to predict his actions? Who? His grandmother? How could she?
Well,
"You could not be permitted to go on as you were. Very bad. Before ascending the throne, you need to be educated. You wonder how one would presume to educate such a person as yourself with the knowledge of a multitude held there in your memories. That's just it, you see. You think yourself educated, but all you are is a repository of dead lives."
I marked that on as I love that turn of phrase there. Just really it's it's illustrating the kind of the curse that he and Ghani are dealing with, but also something that's their strength.
The man brought a hand from beneath his robe, touched Leto's cheek. Leto felt the jolt of a slap shot and found himself winding down.
Yeah,
he got
wham.
I couldn't tell if he got drugged or if he just got fucking smacked unconscious.
Yeah, is there is there a device that does the thing from every 80s to mid 90s action TV show where you can just knock someone out with one punch? That's a thing, Simon and Simon, boom, and you're down. You're right.
Oh my god, you're invoking Simon and Simon.
Yeah.
We
mostly for the theme song.
The next chapter is Leto Atreides II, his voice. "We can still remember the golden days before Heisenberg." I was like, wait, were they doing Crystal?
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to. I didn't look it up, unfortunately, but there was a Heisenberg paradox, right? Isn't there something like that they
I think so.
Heisenberg effect? Is that how the how las guns affect shields or something? Isn't there something like that? Let's go to the internet.
Yeah. I know. Totally.
Well,
Werner Heisenberg was a German theoretical physicist and one of the key pioneers of quantum mechanics.
Yeah. In Dune, there was a particular...
Yeah, for the creation of quantum mechanics, that was his big... it might have been the Heisenberg effect. The Holtzman drives has the Holtzman effect.
Holtzman effect, that's what I'm thinking of. Okay, never mind. Sorry, people.
Oh, this dude had something to do with the nuclear reactor. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The lives within me find this amusing. Knowledge, you see, has no uses without purpose, but purpose is what builds enclosing walls.
That's really, there's just
it's a shot at his dad.
Yeah, what I just feel too, this just gets it. I don't know. Obviously, we're reading this deeply, but just Herbert is just so cynical. If you really when you zoom out, Dune is not romantic. Even when it is romantic, it's not romantic. You know what I mean? It's just very everything's a trap.
Yeah. This chapter, it's Alia getting pissed at guards for not catching the preacher.
Yeah. Why don't you get that guy?
She starts shit talking the one call him Cade Lamb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she's like, "If you must sacrifice yourself this way, taking him openly for all to see who you are and what you do, then I guess you must." And he's like, "Sacrifice myself? What the fuck are you talking about, woman?"
Yeah. I hesitate to use this term since, we're talking about a woman here, but she is becoming unhinged, she is becoming, because she's possessed by an evil person.
I felt in the last book before the possession, though, she was becoming unhinged because she was the spice addiction.
Yeah.
She's basically the addict who is starting to spin out of control, but she'll tell everybody she's got her high under control.
Yeah, and I think that it's a little easier to just be like, well, she's been put in this position that's just impossible. But here it's like, no, well, there's a force driving her into calamity, basically. She just can't fight it.
And also she starts saying the more and more the preacher shows up, the bigger the crowds get and the more difficult it's becoming now to.
Yeah.
And again, even people not knowing it's Paul's a cult of personality.
Yeah, he's Joe Rogan without selling brain pills, Unfortunately.
Paul's gonna be in there. Yeah, if you do ivermectin, you're gonna cure COVID.
Yeah. I can just see Paul as a diss trans of Paul, like, yeah, I got the water sickness, but it's fine. I just figured out. I just looked to Muad'Dib and figured it out. I solved it.
So I looked within myself and I turned the water sickness into something else.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, we're all hallucinating on some ayahuasca and going out.
Brought to you by Ixion brain pills.
Which I'm totally making fun of a Joe Rogan show because he's always talking about taking ayahuasca and tripping.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But yeah, go to him for medical information. Everybody.
Hope we don't get totally flamed now that I invoked that guy. I apologize in advance if I bring any fire your way.
I really don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the same people that told Jen and I that our liberalism was making our hair fall out.
Oh, is that what does it?
Apparently, they're like, both of you lost half your hair for being liberals, and I was like,
well, I mean, you know what? Patrick Stewart rules. So
Patrick Stewart has not aged.
Hair can just go. Hair's just hair, man.
He's the same since the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. He looks better. He might even look better now. We don't know.
He's timeless.
Yeah, the guy rules. Anyway.
And I weird story. I was at the X-Men Days of Future Past panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and I got to see, I'm guessing, a very randy Ian McKellen turn to Michael Fassbender during the panel and said, "I saw your work in Shame. I'm very impressed."
Well, it's like he hit on himself, kind of.
Like he was just like, "So, are you dating anyone?" And I'm just like, "Wow!" Like right in the middle of a panel, awesome.
Love it. You shoot your shot. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
For anybody who's seen Shame, Michael Fassbender has nothing to ever be ashamed of.
No. But you know what? If you're not him, be proud still. Don't judge yourself based on Fassbender.
No. Apparently, also, there was Janice Dickinson on Howard Stern once talked about. Ra's al Ghul from the Chris Nolan Dark Knight series.
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson basically has a Coke bottle for a dick.
Wow.
Yeah, apparently.
Branded and everything? Is it one of the Santa Claus?
And I was like, is it like the bottled Coke, like the old style, or like
what? Are we talking like a liter? Are we talking like a liter Coke bottle? Or are we talking about like the
literally? She was like, she said that, and I was just like, what in the fuck? Like,
is it actually a gravity bong? Is that what it actually
like? And I was like, okay, well, I mean, he's okay to do dad movies now because apparently, like, that's dad action movies. Okay, so totally off topic.
We were due for a tangent, so.
Jen would have probably gone further with it. So Leto is been taken captive, and then he's sitting there. He's like, "In this time, I have no finished features. I am all of my ancestors. The sun setting into the sand is the sun setting into my soul. Once this multitude within me was great, but that's ended. I'm Fremen, and I'll have a Fremen ending. The golden path is ended before it began. It's nothing but a windblown trail. We Fremen knew all the tricks to conceal ourselves. We left no feces, no water, no tracks. Now look at my trail vanish."
Yeah. Really just give it up. It's really
a voice pops up. He's like, "I could kill you, Atreides. I could kill you." It was repeated over and over. And it's this character named Namri.
Yeah, Namri.
Father of Javid.
Yes.
And he's like, "I know Javid." He's like, "I am one of your schoolmasters. Do you not know me?" And he's like, "Well, your education begins with me." and they start playing what they call the riddle game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of fascinating to hear because just the back and forth, and if you're wrong, you die.
What a tedious
Fremen kids game.
Yeah, what a tedious like way to try not to die, you know? like geez. Because the stuff they say, I mean, I do love there's little touches in here that we'll get to, like the idea of like the different kinds of light. Like there's the light that protects, you know?
Yes. Namri has also this line, "Believe me, Atreides, I am the Clod Crusher. I am the Iron Hammer."
Yeah, the Iron Hammer that's good. We all know what that means.
Now Leto understood. Namri saw himself as Mirzaba, the iron hammer with which the dead are beaten, who cannot reply satisfactorily to the question they must answer before entry into paradise.
I feel like this is that's a good lesson in like, don't explain too much, just explain what you need. Like, don't lay out like I don't want to have like the entire cosmology of like Fremen, you know, gods and deity or whatever. Because if we have just a vague idea of what it is, you can pull out something like that, like the hammer that beats the dead. You're like, what the hell? What is that? And it doesn't have to fit into anything, like, right? You're just like, that's a cool thing.
Tell me, Atreides, where can I find the city of the tombs? And then he's like, well, Fremen are forbidden to have tombs.
Right. Trick question.
Yeah.
Got you.
The city of tombs is the end of the path which all men follow. And then he dredged up Zensuni Beatifics. It is in a garden 1,000 paces square. There is a fine entry corridor 233 paces long and 100 paces wide, all paved with marble from ancient Jaipur.
Again, some flooring. I mean, paving is important, but yeah.
But Namri also goes in, you're reciting without belief, but I'll accept it for now because I think you know why you're here.
Yeah. And we should like maybe mention that he's doing okay at this because, again, because his mother was Chani, he has generations of Fremen in his mind. You know, like he can just sort of refer to that.
And then the next chapter, we're back to Jessica, and this is my least favorite chapter. This is teaching Faradin. She's like, you got to use patience. Now imagine you have a baby's hand. Then imagine you have an old hand.
I know. As like, as things like he's not lifting rocks. This isn't, you know, Yoda on Dagobah. He's like, turn your hands into baby hands, turn them into old hands, and which is kind of cool if you like zoom out a little bit, like what he's teaching him to do of like controlling.
There's that line from Last Jedi that I kind of like. Listen, using the Force isn't about just lifting rocks.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
And then at the end, she's lifting rocks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's still you can lift rocks though.
Yeah.
It's more than that. But lifting rocks.
I was about to go on a tangent about Last Jedi, how it's not as bad as everybody made it out to be. It's just different.
Well, yeah, it's not as bad as half of everybody made it out to be. Everybody is split in twain, unfortunately, I think, on that one.
Yeah. So we'll say the least, he's not very patient at all. Like, not one bit.
No.
And he's starting to pout, and she's like, I'm just going to walk out of here, and you're going to sit in here and think on it.
You're going to make your baby hands, and then you're going to make your old hands, and then you're going to let me know. And it comes back later. Like, It was a 5-page chapter. Yeah, it's very short. Mine. Yeah, it's very short. Yeah, I think it's pretty much what his mine too. I think maybe it's like 4 for me, but I have been thinking about, just as a side note, getting your edition now because the print is so small, and my eyes are like.
It's either that or going to the digital where you can just keep changing until you're happy.
Yeah, I know. Like hop on my Kindle for this maybe for the last go.
They actually had a deal for the box set of all of the original 6.
Oh wow! Okay,
for like $50 for Kindle, which isn't bad compared to.
It's not bad.
Yeah, $10 if it was 35, I probably would have been like, sold.
Yeah, less than $10 a book is pretty good. It's still a little bit of a lift, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, God Emperor is. I mean, that's a big one.
Book. thick boy.
I'd say it and the first book are probably the two biggest out of all of them.
Yeah, I think the first book still went, but yeah, God Emperor appears to be. If I look on my shelf, with it's the next one up.
It's the book that's gonna break Cid.
I'm very excited to finally read this.
She hates God Emperor. She
oh yeah.
I've heard it's oppressive.
I've heard it's tedious.
So much in the way the first Dune book was, you have to really pay attention to what he's saying. Because like each chapter is like, I'm laying seeds for what's to come, like, but I'm not really telling you outright what's to come. But you haven't read it, like you'll
I'm excited to dig into that one.
The next chapter, Leto hears the sound of fabrics rubbing together, and it sent sparks of awareness through him. He was surprised that he had tuned his sensitivity to the point where he automatically identified the fabrics from the sound. That is a fine spice woven.
Yeah. Is that spice burlap with a little bit of satin?
That corduroy made out of spice fabric.
Yeah.
You know, it's very uncomfortable in this kind of like, you know, sleeping on corduroy because you get those lines across your face.
Yeah. Oh, it's the worst.
Here
comes the worm trip.
The man lifted a hand to his mask, slipped the catch tube from his nostrils, lowered the mask, and in the same motion flipped his hood back. Even before he focused on the scar of the ink-wine whip along the man's jaw, Leto recognized him. The recognition was a totality in his awareness with the search of confirming details. Coming afterward, no mistake, this rolling lump of humanity was the warrior Gurney Halleck.
Rude.
Like the rolling lump of humanity. Like,
oh, there's an even better. We're not quite there, but there's an even better like turn of phrase like that I just cannot wait to explore.
Trusted confidant and teacher. He was Lady Jessica's servant and maybe lover.
Maybe.
Said earlier, not here though, but Gurney was his captor, and he's like, I understand you've met Namri. Pray believe him, young sir. He has one function and one function only. He's the one capable of killing you should the need arise.
Damn, cold. Ice cold.
This is basically it's used here saying that basically Namri and Gurney are his Gom Jabbar.
Yeah.
Because Lady Jessica didn't have the balls to stick the needle to his neck.
Right, yeah. That's just so, yeah. The lack of like, once again, Lady Jessica's like, I can test him, but somebody else should do it if I'm not around.
Yeah, and then Halleck takes something out, and it is spice essence, which earlier in the book we know that he doesn't want to take the spice trance because he feels he'll get possessed.
Yeah, he's just saying no.
And he's like, oh, yep, I see you recognized it, boy. You're about to take the worm trip.
Yeah. I love that too, the worm trip. It's just
forcibly having to take it, no less, which probably
like I said, I said this in our group chat. I was like, I can't believe that this is a pivotal moment. It turns on injecting a child with hallucinogens. You know, like I get, what is he? He's like 9, right? I mean, they're like 9 years old.
Surely Jessica could not have ordered such an ordeal for her own grandson. Her presence loomed in his mind, filling him with acceptance arguments. Even the litany against fear was pressed upon him with a repetitive droning. With an oath already ancient when Chaldea was young, Leto tried to move, tried to leap as the two men standing over him, but his muscles refused to obey, as he already existed in the trance.
Yeah.
The injector approached, and the injector touched his arm. Pain lanced through him, shot upward to the muscles of his head.
Oof. And now he's
body. It starts playing Inagata Vita.
Yeah.
It suffused his body, and he felt himself to be large, very large, not a child at all, and his skin was not his own. He knew that sensation. His skin was not his own. Warmth spread through his body. As abruptly as his first vision, he found himself standing in darkness.
The father, this might be a small thing, but I just want to say once again, I think Frank Herbert does an amazing job of describing what it's like to be on drugs.
Yes.
If nothing else, if you take nothing else away from these books,
it was
this is accurate.
The father presence showing up saying, I will protect you in the trance. The others within will not take you.
Yeah. Which is a good thing his dad's there to help him in his trip.
Yeah. He keeps saying, my skin is not my own. Memory fragments, he was able to like go through time and everything else, where things that Paul couldn't do, where like it was almost like looking through a window.
Yeah.
He even goes back to he heard a minister companion speaking from a pulpit. We must negate the machines that think. Humans must set their own guidelines. This is not something machines can do. Reasoning depends upon programming, not on hardware, and we are the ultimate program. And his minister companion said,
jihad.
Our jihad is a dump program. We dump the things which destroy us as humans. And it was in Leto's mind that the speaker had been a servant of computers, one who knew them and serviced them, but the scene vanished and Ghanima stood in front of him saying, Gurney knows. He told me. They're Duncan's words, and Duncan was speaking as a mentat. In doing good, avoid notoriety. In doing evil, avoid self-awareness. And then
for the evil and the good.
The father presence, don't invite disaster. You're learning stroboscopic awareness now. Without it, you could overrun yourself, lose your place mark in time.
Yeah.
And he's just tripping out.
Yeah.
And
losing his mind. Certain fish playing slave to the traffic light in the background.
I can't remember if this is the chapter. There's one specific personality from his past that becomes very present. Harum.
I thought
Harum.
Was it Harum? Oh, is that
might be the next chapter?
Yeah, maybe that is the next one because you touched on the preacher, like the sort of pre-Butlerian Jihad preacher, or speaker, but that's not Harum, is it?
Maybe not. No, that would be honestly Agamemnon.
Oh yeah.
Leto awakens from it. He screams, "Where's Gurney? He left lest he have to watch me slay you. Will you slay me, Namri? Since you asked me to do it, I will not. If you were indifferent, though, the malady of indifference is what destroys many things." Damn. That is the next chapter. We go to Ghanima having a fucking meltdown.
Yeah, well, they want to marry her to some 12-year-old weirdo.
Never. I kill him on our wedding night. I swear.
Yeah, well, I love that. I can just see her, like, this is a part 2 where you're like, okay, seeing a child do this, like, it makes sense at both levels. Like, a child doing it, being like, no, wah, throw a tantrum. But then a child with, like, the awareness of its entire ancestry and is actually an adult would also be like, no, wah, this is a bad idea.
Alia's like, you're not a free person who can settle every aspect of her own life.
Yeah.
Which...
that's rude, but probably true in this world.
And Irulan, unfortunately, like, walks in the room and she's, like, watching her flip out. And Alia's like, you talk to her.
Yeah.
And you was like, you're a Carino. Don't press your luck, woman. And I was like,
yeah.
Irulan, dressed in a black abba to match Alia's, the hood thrown back to reveal her golden hair. It was morning hair under her yellow glow of the floating globes. And then Irulan glanced at Alia, stood up and crossed the stand facing Ghani. Ghani, I'd kill him myself if that were the only way to solve matters. And Faradin's my own blood, as you so kindly emphasized, but you have duties far higher than your commitment to Fremen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then we're getting there. I'll leave that, Mark. Irulan tries to voice on her too to like get her to.
We get it. Ghanima starts saying to Alia, "You're lying, O womb of heaven. I've heard about your fight with my grandmother. What is it you fear to tell us about her and your precious Duncan?" The womb of heaven. Oof.
There it is again.
She's still going. She's like, there may be time yet for me to see Faradin's blood spurt around my knife.
God, yeah. So graphic.
Depend on it. If I'm ever left alone with him, one of us will surely die. You think you love your brother more than I? You play a fool's game. I was mother to him as I was to you. You never knew him, all of you, except at times my beloved aunt persist in thinking us children. You're the fools. Alia knows. Look at her run away from... She's like, I run away from nothing. And she's like, I've chosen a way of life that suits me. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, wow. And she's like, you feared to be the window for a multitude, but we're the preborn and we know you'll be their window, conscious or unconscious. You cannot deny them. And she thought, yes, I know you, abomination. Perhaps I'll go as you have gone. But for now, I can only pity you and despise you.
Yeah.
Wow. And hereafter, cease calling me by that ridiculous diminutive Ghani.
Yeah.
It merely supports the mistaken assumption that I'm a child.
Right. Yeah. That's why she hates it, which I related to a lot because I don't like being called Scotty, particularly.
Shit.
Oh, do we have a?
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
So Alia, Irulan tries to use the voice. She's like, why did you and Alia grow so suddenly quiet? And casting it now a delicate mode of voice. Ganma threw her head back in laughter. Irulan, you try the voice on me. She's like,
yeah. What? Again, shoot your shot. She's like, well, I got this thing I know how to use. Which is, I think that's like the first time we've ever even seen the Irulan try any kind of Bene Gesserit thing.
I think she tried it once, but usually it's like the calming stuff, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's
and true. She was like, you teach your grandmother to suck eggs? She's like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
The fact I remember that expression and you've never even heard it before should give you pause. It was an old expression of scorn. And she's like, and Irulan's like, oh no, she goes, it was an old expression of scorn when you, Bene Gesserit, were young. But if that doesn't chasten you, ask yourself what your royal parents could have been thinking of when they named you Irulan, or is it Ruinal?
Ooh, yeah, that was really mean.
Irulan blushed. You're trying to goad me, Ganma. And you tried to use the voice on me. I remember the first human efforts in that direction. I remember then. Ruinous Irulan. Now get out of here.
Yeah. Just trying to cut her down.
Yeah, and then Irulan basically, or not Irulan, Alia is like, I've got a plan. This will get you alone with Faradin so you can kill him.
Yeah. Now she's like, yeah, that's what we want to do. Sure. Kill him. Yeah. I don't care. I don't give a care.
And Irulan's just like, whoa, what are you doing?
Yeah, like, wait a minute, that is still my cousin.
Yeah. She's like, that's not gonna go well. And she's like, I'll take joy in displaying my bloody knife to my brethren.
Yeah. Do you think at this moment too that, I mean, Alia, like, I mean, she already kind of alluded to, like, you know, we're the preborn, but, like, you know, creepy Alia from the first book, do you think she kind of was like, oh, look, it's me. Tiny child wanting to murder. Tiny murder child.
Irulan's like, hey, like, every one of those delegates are going to turn against you. You know that? And Don was like, excellent point. Choose those delegates with care, Alia. They must be ones we won't mind eliminating later.
Just cannon fodder. That's all we need.
Yeah. It's this poor Leto, and I thought, Gods below, I wish it had been the tiger that killed me instead of him.
Oh,
commenting about Alia.
Yeah. That's how bad it is. She was dead rather than just deal with any of this. It's just the worst for
her. Leto is tripping again.
Yep, still tripping.
He's a hostage, held in bondage by the heavy doses of melange in every meal. He's kind of doesn't know when he's in reality or when he's flying.
He's very confused. Yeah, this whole chapter is kind of like, I mean, I guess Herbert does a good job of kind of putting you in Leto's headspace because you're just sort of like disoriented and like floating on this weird.
Gurney's playing music, and then like the music's moving him, moving Leto through the cavern. But you don't know if he's in his body or what he's doing.
Yeah.
He talks about the panoplia prophetica.
Mm-hmm.
It is said that there is nothing firm, nothing balanced, nothing durable in all the universe, that nothing remains in its state, that each day, sometime each hour brings change. He wakes up again. He's like, good fortune to us all. Gurney's like, all right, yeah, like, what's up? He's like, bring me light. You wish to be tested further? He's like, no, it's my turn to test you. We shall see.
I'll turn the tables on you, Gurney.
And he makes a statement. He's like, old Father Eternity always awaits patiently. And he's like, you called Namri by the name reserved for Shai Halou? He's like, no, his knife's worm tooth. Thus, he's old Father Eternity. Mm-hmm. And Halleck smiled, and he's like, just stayed silent. And him and Namri go back and forth, and Namri's like got his Chris knife out. He's like, I will kill you.
You're like, I'm ready to just kill this child. Just to murder this child.
Out. And Gurney's like, you play hide and seek with death, boy.
Yes.
The universe can be understood only by the wind. There's no mighty seed of reason which dwells within the brain. Creation is discovery. God discovered us in the void because we moved against the background, which he already knew. The wall was blank, then there was movement. And then he brings up an ancient Sietch thing that pauses Namri with basically, when you offer a candidate as friend of your Sietch, do you not slay a hawk and an eagle as the offering? Mm-hmm. And is this not the response? God send each man at his end such hawks, such eagles, and such friends? And Gurney's like, is this place your end? I know what you need to hear from me, Gurney. And he's like, what is it I need to hear from you? And Namri's like, he's just word playing.
Yeah, he's just like,
I ally myself with Namri against my father, and my father within allies with us against what was made of him. Why? Because it's the amor fati, which I bring to humankind, the act of ultimate self-examination. In this universe, I choose to ally myself against any force which brings humiliation upon humankind, Gurney. Gurney, you were not born and raised in the desert. Your flesh doesn't know the truth of which I speak, but Namri knows. In the open land, one direction is as good as another. Mm-hmm. I still have not heard what I must hear. He speaks for war and against peace. No, nor did my father speak against war, but look what was made of him. Peace has only one meaning in this Imperium. It's the maintenance of a single way of life. Yeah. You're commanded to be contented. Life must be uniform on all planets as it is the Imperial government. The major object of priestly study is to find the correct forms of human behavior. For this, they go to the worlds of Muad'Dib. Tell me, Namri, are you content? No. Then do you blaspheme? Of course not. But you aren't contented, you see, Gurney? Namri proves it to us. Every question, every problem doesn't have a single correct answer. One must promote diversity.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I really like that part about peace. I had that marked in here because it sort of like examines, this idea about are peace and justice like the same thing? Like, is peace potentially not something where it necessarily means that justice has happened? Because, like he's basically saying like peace is just pacification in this world. It's just like there's no conflict because you're just told to be one way, and if you don't push against that, then there's peace. But maybe that one way that they're telling you to be isn't just or right. I started just really like, again, kind of going back to Herbert's sort of examinations of power and politics and everything in this.
The interesting, like, Gurney's like, will you force me to have you slain? No, I'll have pity upon you. Send word to my grandmother that I'll cooperate. The sisterhood may come to regret my cooperation, but Atreides gives his word. A truthsayer should test that. These Atreides, he'll have his chance to say before his grandmother what must be said. Namri paused before leaving, glanced at Leto. I pray we do the right thing in leaving him alive. Go, friends, go and reflect. Leto lays back on his back, and there is a very interesting thing he says. They wanted his cooperation. Promising cooperation had won him another reprieve from Namri's knife. By summoning to cooperation, they sought to recognize a healer. And he thought, but I'll not bring them social order in the way they expect it. Mm-hmm. A grimace contorted Leto's mouth. He knew he'd not be as unconsciously malevolent as was his father. Despotism at one terminal and slavery at the other. But this universe might pray for those good old days. His father within spoke to him, then cautiously probing, unable to demand attention, but pleading for audience. And Leto answered, "No, we will give them complexities to occupy their minds. There are many modes of flight from danger. How will they know I'm dangerous unless they experience me for thousands of years? Yes, Father within will give them question marks."
Dude, there's some more foreshadowing.
Very much so.
Again, don't kidnap a child and inject them with hallucinogenic drugs if they have hereditary superpowers. It's probably not going to work out very well.
And then Faradin, another chapter with him where he managed to change his hands finally.
Yeah, he did it.
He goes in at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. and wakes up Jessica while she's in her nightie. And she's like, "All right, good. Like, well, we're going to work on some more stuff, but good."
Is this like a reverse Mrs. Robinson? Is this like a... like he's the one who's like, maybe something will happen. I don't know. It's out in the air.
Here's to you. This is
Atreides.
Yeah. Well, they're not married, so I guess not. Here's to you.
Yeah, she's just concubine.
Jesus knows you more than I know. The Lemonheads will write it.
Yeah, totally. Wadib loves you more than I will know.
The creepiest chapter ever comes
pretty
now.
Creepy.
Where Leto is out in the sand with Namri's daughter, which he continues with the
here it comes
path.
Yeah,
everywhere bugs crawled. My skin is not my own.
Yeah, that's more foreshadowing.
He is shot up again with the spice.
Oh, yeah. He's so high. It's just...
He's even having a crazier trip where he almost starts to lose himself. And Harum...
Not in the 8 Mile way. Not in the moment of the music.
Harum is an ancient ancestor, which I believe they say is Egyptian.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Here it is. Even a real Harum whom you trusted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Him and the father sense keep away a lot of the unwanted visitors. He even discusses that the memories of Baron Harkonnen and Leto the First fight endlessly, but he won't listen to them.
Right. Yeah. There's also an interesting, I just kind of like noticed this again, but the previous chapter about Faradin and his training, like he actually refers to, he recalled his father's early training, let the hands grow young, then old. But his whole body was immersed now in this lost reality. Entire image progression melted into other faces. But he like remembers the same training like Faradin's going through. So there's again kind of echoes and rhythms going on through here.
So he gets out of it, like he's been in a trance for most of a day and a night.
Yeah.
And Sabia, like, who is Namri's
He's
niece,
so dehydrated, probably.
it's almost dawn. You've spent the whole night here and most of a day. And he goes, "You make good coffee." And she's like,
yeah, that's right. That is kind of a left field thing to say.
He's in a vision. He saw her roasting coffee beans.
Your coffee's the best.
Is that Folgers?
Yeah. Oh man. Can I get some Sanka?
Oh god. I'm a little dehydrated.
Yeah, that's what you need is the coffee when you're dehydrated.
Leto's like, "It's the hour of assassins, but your knife is no longer needed." She's like, Namri will be the judge of that. And he's like, "Not Halleck then." She only confirmed his inner knowledge. Shai-Hulud is a great garbage collector and eraser of unwanted evidence. I've used it myself.
Yeah. I know this.
And he's just like stretching. He's like, "Yeah, I had a vision that included you." And her shoulders are like, "We've been very one-sided about Arrakis, barbaric of us. There's certain momentum in what we've been doing, but now we must undo some of our work. The scales must be brought into better balance." And she's like, "What are you talking about, dude? Like, my uncle just sent me out here
You are
And
high.
he's like, my vision, unless we restore the dance of life here on Dune, the dragon on the floor of the desert will be no more. And he used the old Fremen name for the worms. He's like, we're in a dark passage. Without spice, the Empire falls apart. The Guild will not move. Planets will slowly lose their clear memories of each other. They'll turn inward upon themselves. Space will become a boundary. When the Guild navigators lose their mastery, we'll cling to our Dune tops. What are Dune tops? Or is that like literally the top of the dune?
Yeah, when there are only dunes, you have to create other names for the things. You know, like the landscape is not that complicated, so you have to complicate it, I guess.
And be ignorant of that which is above and below us. What is it? She's like, you speak strangely. How have you seen me in your dreams? And this is, oh boy.
Cue heart. These dreams.
So he's like, not only did I see you coffee, I saw us entwined in love.
Yeah, we're getting to the thing that I booked. Well, that's actually in the next chapter, but.
Oh.
Is it? Oh, wait, did I not? Oh, yeah, I have. Yeah, we'll get there. I don't want to give it away.
Oh boy. And so
but yeah, like, creepy. Again, this is a 9-year-old child. For you watching at home, 9-year-old child.
I must follow the dictates of my new heart. You look upon me as a mere child, Sabia. But if she's like, they warn me about you.
Yeah.
Don't fear me, Sabia. You've lived 8 more years than this flesh of mine. For that I honor you, but I have untold thousands more years of other lives, far more than you have known.
Yeah.
Don't look upon me as a child. I have bridged the many futures, and in one saw us entwined in love, you and I, Sabia.
Yeah. Whew.
And she's like, what are, this can't, what? He's like, the idea could grow on you. Now help me back to this. Cringe.
Not appropriate at all.
And he's like, Namri must hear where I've been. And she's just like, I know where you're not going to be.
But I mean, we are sort of like as we get further along, this is sort of a strategic creep out, I think, right? This is a strategic.
And she's like, I don't believe that ... about the worms. And then she's like, nor about us entwined in love. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you got heat stroke.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's kind of like humble brags. He's like, I'm the son of Muad'Dib, able to see the future.
Yeah, right. He's like, this is my move. This is the middle school kid hitting on like a college freshman situation.
Measuring the difference in their sizes, reflecting upon his words entwined in love. And he goes, size is another thing that changes, he thought. I was like,
oh, again, I'll just do my own foreshadowing of the thing that I marked off here that we're going to talk about.
Simpub? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, she's she's helping him walk because he's like so dehydrated and
yeah, he's so like as he's hitting on her inappropriately, basically.
It's basically like sister's high school friend, and he's in middle school going,
yeah,
you're kind of hot. Someday I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna be banging you.
It's like in The Sopranos if Meadow brought somebody home and AJ was like,
oh god.
Well, your friend's hot.
And then he's going to try and kill himself.
I like Hunter. She's.
Oh, God, Hunter. Oh, God.
Yeah, go ahead. Sort of give people reference.
He continues humble bragging. She's like, how could there be no more worms? He's like, only I can change that. Have no fear. I can change anything.
This is great, like, manipulation. Because he's, like, keeping her off balance with the whole, like, hey, baby, we're going to hook up. But then also, like, this, like, a planet-wide calamity that he's foretelling, and he's like, but I'll stop that too, and then you'll really want me, you know.
He's kind of like a live journal poet.
Yeah, oh totally. Yeah, again, he's like, yeah, he's some kind of like a disaster porn podcaster or blogger.
Some questions have no answers. I've seen that future, but the contradictions would only confuse you. This is a changing universe that we are the strangest change of all.
Yeah, which is a fancy way, like you wouldn't understand, but I'll explain it to you. The best I can.
I'm gonna educate you over some coffee you're about to make.
Yeah, exactly. I've read A People's History of the United States. Let me talk to you about what really happened in Vietnam.
And then, like, he starts going like, now there's a barrier which we must remove. That this requires that we do brutal things, that we go against our most basic, our dearest wishes, but it must be done. What must be done? Have you ever killed a friend? And it's just like, God.
Yeah, what is this killing of a friend?
And then she's like, and then he's like, you'll die anyway. I don't have to do it, but I can prevent it. If I don't prevent it, is that not killing him?
Yeah.
Who is this? Who will die? The alternatives keep me silent. I might have to give my sister to a monster.
Yeah. I mean, but again, like, you know, I kind of think too, like, knowing what's coming, you're like, how did she get enthralled in this whole plot anyway? Like, because she is like sort of like almost a third hand, like when Namri's like explaining to her what she needs to do and why this is important. Like, what is going through her head? Because she seems like, oh God, I don't even want to be here, and now I'm dealing with this weird ass kid. Like, what's going through her head?
Oh boy. Boy.
We move on to the next chapter, or that's kind of like brings it to a close, I think, on that one.
Yeah. It's Ganema having trouble with her inner lives.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, she is struggling mightily. If you want to vamp for a minute, I gotta message someone. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, she's dealing with, she's standing on top of the shield wall, thinking about that her sister, that her aunt is an abomination. It's an abomination, the Lady Jessica had said. Our term for the preborn has a long history of bitter experiences behind it. The way of it seems to be that the inner lives divide. They split into the benign and the malignant. The benign remain tractable, useful. The malignant appear to unite in one powerful psyche, trying to take over the living flesh and its consciousness. The process is known to take considerable time, but its signs are well known. And of course, like, as we know, like, Alia just submitted to basically one of those inner lives, which was the Baron, who is like, I just want a corner of your mind, but that corner is taking over everything she does at this point.
She gets basically her Chani, her apparition shows up, and it was like, enter here and you will eat the fruit of Zakum, the food of hell. Chani said, bar this door, my daughter. It is your only safety.
Yeah. In some ways, she's kind of going through her own like weird trip, but she's not, intoxicated, I guess. It's kind of like it mirrors a little bit some of what Leto's been going through here, even though it's not drug driven.
She's kind of recalling what Faradin looks like, and she's like, hate will make me strong. In hate, I can resist Alia's fate. But she then says that Faradin resembled his uncle, the late Shaddam IV. Irulan comes in, and they get into it a little bit, and Irulan's basically like, I treated you as my daughter that I never had. And because Irulan, Ganema was like, also saying, what was it? She called her a childless something.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know that, Gani, you're Paul's daughter. How can you? Because I'm his daughter. We Atreides go back to Agamemnon, and we know what's in our blood. Never forget that childless wife of my father. We Atreides have a bloody history, and we're not through with the blood. Who's Agamemnon? Irulan says, how sparse your vaunted Bene Gesserit education proves itself. I keep forgetting.
So mean to her.
Very much so.
Yeah. And she keeps calling her Gani. But get a clue. She said she doesn't like that.
Gani, I took my oath to guard you against any danger. I'll do it with my own life if necessary. If you think I'm going to languish in some brick-walled Jadida there's always the Hawanoi. I I don't know what the fuck that.
Yeah, some of these words are.
We have the death still as an alternative. I'm sure you couldn't interfere from there.
Yeah, like she's like, I'm just throw you in the death still.
Gani, I don't fear for myself. I'd throw myself into the worm's mouth for you. Yes, I'm what you call me, the childless wife of your father, but you're the child I never had. I beg you.
Yeah.
And she's crying.
This is the moment where you're just like, man, Irulan really loves this little girl. And, whatever Ganima thinks, Irulan cares about her and wants to help her, or at least wants to be someone that she can talk to about, all this insane stuff that's running through her head. Which again, she has the memories of all her ancestors, including her Messiah father, who had thousands of different possible paths for humanity to take in his mind. So rough time for her. Not an easy thing. And you get this kind of sincerity. I mean, to me, this is almost like the most emotive, or like, I don't want to say like humanizing, but like the most sort of like emotional moment Irulan's had in all of the books so far, right?
Yeah, because usually her Bene Gesserit training, she's very calm. Like she'll kind of lose it every now and again and collect herself.
Mm-hmm.
But the crying and stuff, where she did wail for days after Paul died.
Yeah, but we kind of see that that's kind of off screen, right, for us, really. Like that's we know happened, but we don't really get to see it. Like this is really like her moment in a lot of ways.
There is another difference between us. You were never Fremen. I'm nothing else. This is a chasm which divides us.
Yeah.
You can't tell what Alia knows. If I didn't know her for Atreides, I'd swear she had set herself to destroy her own family.
Mm-hmm.
Ganima said, I owe you a water debt for that. I'll guard your life, but your cousin's forfeit. Say no more of that.
Yeah.
I did love your father. I didn't even know it until he was dead. Perhaps he isn't dead. This preacher, Gani, sometimes I don't understand you. Would Paul attack his own family? He might find amusement in such a... How can you speak so lightly of this? To keep the dark depths. To keep away the dark depths. I don't taunt you. The gods know I don't. But I'm just my father's daughter. I'm every person who's contributed seed to the Atreides, which...
Yeah, that's the that's the phrase right there. Just like the enormity of what's in her mind.
I'm every Bene Gesserit of their damnable breeding program, up to and including my grandmother, and I'm very much more. She tore at her left palm, drawing blood with a fingernail. This is a young body.
Brutal.
Oh gods, Irulan, my experiences. No, I know all those futures which my father explored. I've the wisdom of so many lifetimes, and all the ignorance too. All the frailties. If you'd help me, Irulan, first learn who I am. And Irulan bent and gathered Ganima in her arms, holding her close. Like, don't let me have to kill this woman, Ganima thought. Don't let that happen.
Gosh. And she's struggling with it too. Yeah.
And that is it for our reading.
Oh, don't we have one more chapter?
No, we're stopping.
We stopped there. I thought it was 80. I thought it was 98. 298.
Not.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm ahead.
Yeah, because
that's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
We kick off at an exciting spot.
The Lament for Leto to 2. So mine is 339. The end of the book in mine is 477. I think that could be done.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just finish the book.
Yeah, we'll just finish it now. Should be just another fourth, right?
Yeah, basically. It's a little bit more than 100 pages, but
I'm sort of like remembering what happens now, and I'm kind of looking at what's left. I'm like, wow, a lot happens in this last quarter. Like,
yes, but it was a lot. A lot happened without a lot happening.
Yeah, it's interesting. The first quarter was a lot of, like there's setup and there's a lot of philosophizing and kind of emotional stuff. And I do feel like that second quarter we read, like that was the action-packed part, right?
Until the last quarter action happens again. Yeah. So like this pace kind of changes up again. So yeah, we'll be finishing the book. I'm going to be next week. I think we're doing Dunkirk for Celluloid and Scotch.
Nice. Love that movie.
And then I think I'm on John's Comics with Kids channel talking about post Hickman X-Men on the 22nd. Probably the 22nd is when we'll come back for this. And the 29th, Black Hole by Charles Burns for the book club. Yeah. If you want to join us, you're more than welcome, since you seem to be a fan of that.
Love that book. I'll read it. Yeah, I'm into that if you need something. Yeah. Well, actually, wait. The 29th, unfortunately, I could not join. Okay. I'm running a Star Wars game, but I would love to. I will definitely check it out on the replay.
And we are doing Big Trouble in Little China also for Celluloid and Scotch as my birthday episode.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
One of my favorite movies.
Great flick. I will be on Comic-Gories at the end of the month.
Oh, really?
Fun. Yeah, that's going to be a fun thing. I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I arrange all my stuff so that I can get to it?
See, that's not everything's up in boxes upstairs and not handy, and I can't do that.
Yeah, I have some so drawer boxes, no free ads, but drawer boxes, highly recommend if you want accessibility.
Yeah, I have drawer boxes, and again, everything's upstairs in my walk-in closet, so
that
where I record, it's not handy.
No, that's not handy.
You should have fun on that show.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Just like, here's this random, Dark Avengers issue that I never thought about until I needed it for this or whatever.
All right, so join us next time, and I think it'll be the 22nd. I'll just have to check with Jen. Right. And if you came for Jen, sorry, we're capping.
Sorry. We're the B team. We're the gold team. I'm Nightcrawler. This is.
God, I'm trying to think who is on that gold team now. Was it?
Yeah, I'm probably wrong. I'm such a fair weather X-Men fan.
I think Nightcrawler. No, was Colossus on gold and Nightcrawler was
that
on
sounds
red?
Right. Yeah, I think Nightcrawler was on red. Yeah, I think you're right.
God, there was a lot. Ugh.
It changed. It depends on who was writing it,
Yeah, because then there was that other blue and gold team back in the day where it was Bishop, Storm, and I can't even remember who else. God, it's been forever.
Problematic Psylocke.
She was on blue team.
She was on blue. Okay.
Yeah, she was on.
I'm trying to think if their like uniforms help us out at all. Like she has a purple uniform, so blue. It doesn't.
Yeah, she was on the Cyclops. Jean. Oh, and it was. Yeah, Jean Grey was on that one.
Yeah,
Wolverine.
That sounds right.
Yeah, the gold team had. Crap! It's been forever since I read that. I want to say Beast. But I don't think that's right.
I feel like, that sounds right.
I remember Bishop and Storm were the big ones on that team.
Yeah, they roll.
Sorry, this became X-Men talk. But anyway, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time. And go ahead and buy God Emperor, because that's probably going to end up happening.
Yeah. Buy my zine. Bye. I'll give you a sticker.
Oh, yes. Dune-tober. I've got the links to Scott's stuff in the description. So, again, take care, and I hope you had a great New Year and a Merry Christmas. Yes. And
cheers.
Soon we'll be done. Bye.